Hi everyone. Just going to start you off with another frying cooking assessment so you guys can be able to try this one at home. What we're doing today is we're using the technique of shallow frying, which we use oil in a fry pan that can be cooked on half of the food item, and then you turn it over and cook the other half. And the best one to show you and demonstrate that you guys can make at home is a simple donut mix. Okay, so to make your donut mix, you'll find the recipe in the link below this video on my YouTube page. And also it's very, very simple. It's just about mixing it and creating a dough, which looks like this. And that is just your flour, baking powder, sugar, butter, and milk, and a little bit of salt, and just mix it all together. It's almost very similar to a to a cheese scone type texture, and with that we're just going to roll it into individual sized golf balls that we can use to shallow fry to make our donuts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I prepared earlier and what we're going to do from moving on from here. So hope you guys can see this is my work area. So with our dough here, we're just going to grab a little bit in our hands, and all you want to do is just roll in it and place it onto some parchment paper on a nice clean chopping board. And as you can see, I've got some here that I've already prepared about the same size. And when you're frying and stuff like that, you need to make sure that all your food is ready to go. If I was making churros, I'd have my piping bag ready to go, but with my donuts I'm having them all there ready to go. Remember, I need to use metal utensils. When you're frying, don't use plastic because they melt in the hot oil. So using a shallow frying technique, what I've got is my fry pan. I've filled it up, just enough oil to probably cover the base of the fry pan, and that's just going to keep it nice and hot and give you the technique where you cook a donut that you need to turn it over so you get this nice ring around the outside. With our donuts, we're going to have a bowl of cinnamon sugar, which is just sugar and a little bit of cinnamon, which you place them into after they've cooked to help them infuse all that flavour and create a nice crunch to them when they're cooked. So what we're going to do is we're just going to crank up our heat. Once again, about frying, either dry frying, deep frying and shallow frying, is we need to monitor our heat of our fry pan. Keep it nice and warm, but not too hot, because then you start to burn your food. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by using one. We're going to use our knife just to slice underneath our prepared little donut balls, and then we're just going to place them into the hot oil, making sure that we keep our fingers clear away. And we're just going to move it around so it doesn't stick to the bottom. We'll be able to start to see some really good bubbles shine up around the outside of it. So I'm just going to come in for a closer look. So we'll start to see some bubbles forming around the outside. When it starts to get golden brown, that's when we're going to turn it over, and just keep turning them over just once and stuff like that. So then they start to cook really beautifully. Using the baking powder in your flour and stuff like that will help them puff up and cook a little bit. Once again, it's just about monitoring the heat. So as you can see, I'm using gas. You guys might have electric at home, which is a lot more easier to manage, because you can either crank it up to 5 or 6, get it really hot, and then drop it down to 3 and just keep it as a moderate heat. With gas, it's a lot more harder. Like I said when I showed you my pikelet video, it shows you a little bit of how it is to try and monitor the heat and stuff like that, because too hot you'll start getting some real dark colour on your donuts or pancakes or pikelets, but with too low you don't get that colour that you want. So we just start moving these around. So this does take a wee bit of time process, but at the end of the day it's just not rushing it, because if I put 3 or 4 into there it just takes away all the heat from my fry pan. So we don't want to do that. We just want to keep it nicely balanced, and also just managing the heat proportion as much as we can. So I'm just going to move my chopping board out of the way so I can get you guys in a little bit closer so you can see. Hopefully you're finding these videos quite informative to help when we come to our assessments when we're back at school. But if you do make these at home and you show me your photos, images, or get one of your parents to record it for you, then this is as good as evidence for NZQA. So as you can see, got some really nice colour on that one. So what I'm going to do is do a technique where I'm actually just going to tilt the fry pan, and I'm just going to put that into the lower base of the oil just to give it a really good colour and cook. And that will just really start to get in and really brown that. If you're unsure if it's cooked in the centre, you can just use your fork and just pierce through And you can see there's a little bit of dough still on it, so I know that it needs a little bit longer cooking. So that's a good way to understand or to check to see if your donuts need more cooking as they go, as they progress. I'm just keeping it on that flame as I'm using gas cooking. Remember, these will cook as soon as they come out of the heat source as well, so we don't want to overcook them, but we don't want to undercook them either, because then you'll have to use an oven. So now that we've got some really nice colour on that one, what we're going to do is get our fork, get underneath it, release any excess oil, and then straight into your cinnamon sugar. Okay, you guys can see that. I'll bring that down there. Straight into your cinnamon sugar. Give it a bit of a Gordon Ramsay flip, and straight out onto there, and out onto your cooling rack, which has a baking paper underneath. So here's some I prepared earlier, so you guys can start to see what they really look like. So nice and golden brown there. As you can see from this one here, it's got quite a dark colour on it, so that means I was just trying to monitor my heat source, which was getting too hot, so I had to take it off the heat and let it cool down for a bit. Same with that one there. But then when you look at these other ones that we prepared here, they're looking really, really good. Okay, so I'm just going to show you again. So we've got our oil there, nice and warm, using our metal utensils because we don't want to use plastic. What we're going to do is just pick up our donut ball, place it onto your fork, and then place it into the center of your fry pan. You'll hear it start to crackle. We start to hear that instantly. We know that the pan's really, really nice and warm and hot, and we've got a good temperature for frying. But we'll also try and monitor that as well. Once again, if it gets too hot, all you've got to do is simply take it off. Okay? So if you make your dough, and then you get your parents to come and film you doing the shallow frying technique, and you share it with me, then that's as good as getting the credits, because I can see that the process and the safety techniques that you're using, and you're using a right technique food to help you understand the process, and you can show me the technique, which is really good. So got some really nice colour on that straight away. As you can see, it's got some real nice golden crispy. You don't want to do it too far, so what I do is tilt the pan so the oil runs down, and I'm going to tip it over and put it into almost like a deep frying technique. You can see that's almost covering it. It's going to be a little bit weird there. It's a little bit hot. You can start to hear that crackling. That's where I've just taken it off the heat. And then it's just about really monitoring it up and down, off and on. Okay. Once again, using your fork to see if the insides are cooked, we just do a gentle pierce. You can see that's still not too bad, but we can flip that back over now, and now let's cook the inside. Count for about 15 to 20 seconds, and then just straight up, give it a good up and down so you get all the excess oil off, and then into your cinnamon sugar, and then you can just let them cool down, and you have a lovely afternoon snack to give to your whānau that you've made yourself, and you've awarded some credits for it, which is great. So I'll move that over to our bowl. We're going to use our fork to get up underneath it. Try to catch it. I'm using my fingers, but you guys need to use some kind of metal tongs. Give that a good flick. Out of there, onto your tray. And after you're finished, what you can do is just share me your photos or your film that you've created, and I'll be able to assess it. Later on this week, I'll show you how to make churros, which is a Mexican donut which needs to be deep fried. So that's the last technique. But please carry on. Have a go at the pikelets, the donuts, and also the churros, and share me your videos so I can award your credits. Hope to hear from you guys all soon. We're going to have a Google Live session on Friday at 9:30. So hopefully if you've got my link, share it in the email. If you haven't, please get in touch with me at darlingnviard@viard.school.nz, and I can send you another link and stuff like that, and we'll have a chat. We'll go through some of the work, and then I'll be able to talk to you about our new unit which we want to start next week, which is grilling. Hope you're all staying safe and being kind to your siblings and being good children to your parents, and kia kaha. Hopefully I'll see you soon. Goodbye.